What's up YouTube? Alex here, and in this video I'm going to be running through how I made 37.5k, 37,000 bucks betting on the Super Bowl. I placed 60 bets total, and unsurprisingly I was on the Eagles. You know, that game was a complete blowout. Honestly, pretty boring to watch in the second half. Complete and utter blowout. I think the entire world was surprised. But regardless, I kind of wanted to break down my betting process. You know, I had tons of different bets. I thought all of these bets had an edge, a mathematical advantage. So I kind of want to go through my reasoning, what I found helpful, what I found useful. So the first bet I was on, no shocker here, was Eagles money line. And my largest Eagles money line position or bet was on this platform called NoVig. So NoVig is a betting exchange. And there's two main betting exchanges in the United States, ProphetX and NoVig. Both of them have pretty lucrative sign-up bonuses. I'll include links below. I definitely recommend using both of them. I'll kind of explain why in a second, but both of these platforms are available, legal in basically every state. In Texas, you know, you have access to NoVig. Not every state, but most states, you're gonna have access to NoVig and ProphetX, and these are betting exchanges. So what's a betting exchange? Betting exchanges are peer-to-peer betting platforms. So what does that mean? Basically, that means you're not betting against the house, you're betting against another person. So for example, if I place a bet on DraftKings, I'm betting against DraftKings. You know, if I make money, DraftKings loses money. If I lose money, DraftKings makes money. You're betting against the house on a sportsbook like DraftKings or FanDuel. On these betting exchanges, you're betting against other people. They're exchanges. They just facilitate trading. You're betting against another person. So long story short, they never limit people. They never ban people, which makes them amazing for arbitrage betting. You're never going to get limited or banned. NoVig, ProphetX, they don't care if you're up $100,000 or down $100,000. It doesn't affect them. All they're doing is, you know, opening up markets for people to bet against each other. But long story short, you know, exchanges are super valuable, peer-to-peer betting exchanges, because they have super tight markets sometimes. And what I mean by that is exchanges are peer-to-peer. So when it's a big event, like the Super Bowl, there's a lot of liquidity available. There's a lot of trading volume, so they in general have super tight markets. So for example, on NoVig, you can see in this screenshot, they only had 1 cent of juice on the Super Bowl. You could get the Chiefs at -108 or the Eagles at +107. That's a 1 cent spread, literally insane, compared to DraftKings, -120 Chiefs, +100 Eagles. Eagles were underdogs, a 20 cent spread. So for main events like the Super Bowl, exchanges are super effective. Like, you want to be betting on them because they have super tight markets. Like you can see NoVig was offering the best price on the Chiefs and nearly the best price on the Eagles as well. So peer-to-peer betting exchanges, NoVig and ProphetX, if you're in a state that has them, I can't recommend them enough. Super tight markets, super good odds for, you know, main markets, money line, stuff like that. And obviously, like, getting better odds is going to make you a more successful sports bettor. You always want to get the best possible odds. So on these betting exchanges, they have super tight markets, super good odds. So that's a huge benefit of using them, and they're available in basically every state. So long story short, you can see on NoVig, I had 20 different orders or bets on the Eagles. And the reason for that is exchanges, they have something called liquidity, right? Exchanges are peer-to-peer betting sites. So you can only bet however much, you know, is available. So for example, I just checked out an NBA game for tomorrow. The Spurs are playing the Celtics. If you want to get the Spurs at +245, you can see this is ProphetX. They have $373.88 of liquidity available. So basically, you can only bet $373.88 on the Spurs at +245. Then you're done. So long story short, there were a lot of good opportunities that I found on OddsJam. There were a lot of plus EV spots to bet on the Eagles. I got the Eagles at an average price, a weighted price of about plus 114. You can see they closed on most sports books around plus 100, even minus 105. So I got really good lines on the Eagles. These bets were plus EV. I just found them off of OddsJam. And you can see I got the Eagles at plus 115 for $63. I got them at plus 118 a little bit before for $2,000. So whenever I saw a plus EV bet on the Eagles, I bet on them. So exchanges have a ton of pros, tight markets. The only downside of exchanges is it's peer-to-peer. So sometimes if there's no one else, betting on those games, for example, if I look at NBA games tomorrow, there's no one else even betting on these games already. There's no liquidity. There's nothing to bet. So long story short, exchanges, NoVig, I had 14K on the Eagles. That paid out 30K because the Eagles were underdogs. These betting exchanges were super important in terms of, getting results on the Super Bowl. The second thing I had was a ton of DFS slips cash. So DFS, fantasy sports, there's a few main sites I use, but the main one is PrizePicks. And the way that PrizePicks works is if you take a player, right, like any 4-pick entry on PrizePicks, you're going to get a 10x payout. Putting down 100 to win 1,000, 10 to win 100, right, you're getting a 10x payout. So basically on PrizePicks, the way that this platform works is if you take a player to go over or under, you get the same payout. Any 4 picks, you're getting a 10x payout. So as a simple example, Kareem Hunt, I bet his under 9.5 first quarter rushing yards, under 9.5 first quarter rushing yards. And again, on PrizePicks, if I took his over or his under in the slip, I would have gotten the same payout. If I took his over or his under, any 4-pick entry, you're getting a 10x payout. So why did I take the under, which I just found on the OddsJam positive EV tool? It had a super high profit margin, 12.72%, is if you look at all the sports books, every single sports book had Hunt's under 9.5 first quarter rushing yards as the heavy favorite, right? So you look at BetRivers and Caesars, basically every single sports book had his under at minus 175. He was a massive favorite. The market, sportsbook odds are a source of information. That's market data, right? Sportsbooks tell you information through their odds. All these sports books, had Kareem Hunt's under as a massive favorite. So you can see FanDuel, they only had a one-way market. They were only offering odds on the over. But you can assume they had the same odds on the over. They had the over at plus 140, Hunt over 9.5 first quarter rushing yards. They had the over at plus 140, which was the same as Caesars. So if they were offering odds on the under, they'd have it at, probably close to minus 175, considering they have the same odds on the over as Caesars. If they had a two-way market, they had odds on the under, it would probably be around minus 175 as well. So on PrizePicks, we take Hunt's over under 9.5 first quarter rushing yards. We get the same payout. All the sports books have this under as a massive favorite. We're using that information in the market. These sports books, FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, they're multi-billion-dollar companies, right? They're experts in setting lines. Experts, they're taking action from sports bettors. They're adjusting their odds based on where action's coming in, sharp action specifically. Right? FanDuel's not stupid. If all the profitable bettors are betting the under, they're going to move odds towards the under. All these sports books had Hunt's first quarter rushing yards, the under 9.5 as a massive favorite. So that's what I included in my PrizePicks slip. Then I also included some correlated plays. So you'll see I had Hurts over in first half passing yards and A.J. Brown over in first half receiving yards. So again, on PrizePicks, if I take Hurts over, Brown under, or Hurts over, Brown over, I'm going to get the same payout. Obviously, if Jalen Hurts goes over, 105 half passing yards in the first half, then his main target, A.J. Brown, is going to be more likely to go over his first half line, which was 33.5 receiving yards. So those two plays are positively correlated. So correlation is super effective for beating prize picks. You know, if Jalen Hurts goes over in passing yards, his main target, A.J. Brown, you know, who's literally a third of his passing yards line, right? 33.5, 105.5. A.J. Brown is basically a third of Jalen Hurts' passing yards line. If Jalen Hurts goes over, A.J. Brown's a lot more likely to go over as well. So these two plays are positively correlated. So long story short, this game went pretty well for me. Obviously, having Eagles money line and, you know, betting on Jalen Hurts over A.J. Brown over, you know, the Eagles to do well in my prize pick slips ended up working out pretty well. So the first, you know, big wins were from these betting exchanges and then these DFS apps like Prize Picks, but there's a lot more to go through. So, you know, I'm kind of going to cut it at this point and then get into some new things. So next, I had a ton of bets on different sports books like Rebet, FanDuel, DraftKings. And I've said this before, but like as a sports bettor, you want to use as many books as possible. You know, like you can see right here, I took the Eagles team total on Rebet over 23.5 points for $5,000. And on Rebet, I got this at minus 123 odds. If you look at other sports books, like DraftKings had this at minus 135, Bet Online, you know, had this at minus 150. They had this at different prices. So the sports betting market, all sports books, they want to be unique. They set their own odds. So the market is super fragmented, inefficient, whatever. There's a lot of words you can use. It's not consolidated, right? Like if you buy a stock on Fidelity or E-Trade, you're going to get the same price. You want to buy Apple stock, you're going to get the exact same price. There's no differences. The stock market's super efficient. In sports betting, that's not the case. There's hundreds of sports books that have launched in the US since sports betting legalized in 2018. And all these books want to set their own odds. So the first step, you know, and you don't need to use a software. Obviously, using a software like OddsJam that scans the millions of odds across books to kind of point out line discrepancies, value. Obviously, using a software makes it a lot easier, but you don't have to. But you got to be finding value, right? Like that's, you know, it doesn't matter if you're betting on the Super Bowl, any other sport, March Madness, NBA, whatever. You got to be finding value. Like if you're betting on the Eagles to go over 23.5 points at minus 150 on Bet Online, when there's another sportsbook, Rebet, that's offering minus 123, you're getting ripped off. You're never going to make money sports betting. You should just close your accounts, right? Like it's quite literally, it's exactly like buying a stock at $150 when you could get it at $123. You're getting ripped off and you should try to not get ripped off, right? Like getting ripped off means it's going to be really hard to be a profitable sports bettor. But anyways, I found this play on the OddsJam positive EV tool. Obviously it cashed. It cashed in the first half because Mahomes, you know, played horribly. He threw 2 interceptions in the first half. So this was a first half cash. I didn't expect it to be that easy, but it was a bet with an edge. So you can see this bet at a profit margin. It was from the positive EV tool. And again, all OddsJam does, the positive EV tool, is scan quite literally millions of odds every second. It's updating odds from Pinnacle, you know, which is known to be a really sharp sports book right here. You can see they had the Eagles over 23.5 at minus 138. Bet Online, which had this minus 150. OddsJam is just reading in odds from all these sports books and pointing out value. So on Rebet, you know, the Eagles was way too good a value to go over 23.5 at minus 123 odds. They soared over that. Probably could have scored more if the game was competitive enough, but it wasn't at all. So for the second half, they barely even had to try. But long story short, I was able to get the Eagles at minus 123 when other sports books, including sharp books like Bet Online, had the Eagles team total around minus 140, minus 145 odds. So the first way you can kind of think about sports betting, this was really helpful to me when I started gambling, is it's really like trading a stock, right? Like I used to be a trader, so I like using stock analogies, but basically I was able to get this bet. I was able to buy the Eagles team total at $123 on a rebet when the rest of the market, had this priced around $140, $145. So I'm getting value to the market, and I make sure any pick I give out on social media, right, I'm always getting the best possible value. The play always has an edge. So I understand the term edge maybe is a little bit confusing. So you can see like, okay, rebet's offering really good odds on the Eagles, but why is this bet profitable? Is basically you have to remember, how do all sports books make money, right? Like, how does a book like BetOnline make money? And the way that they make money is by charging a spread called the VIG. So BetOnline, for this Eagles team total bet, they had a 30-cent spread in their market, minus 150 on the over, plus 120 on the under. You bet the under, it's 100 to win 120. You bet the over, it's 150 to win 100. So that's a 30-cent spread. They're charging 30 cents of juice. So basically what you can do is you can use a fair odds calculator, also called a NoVig odds calculator, which basically just takes a sportsbook's market, removes the VIG, strips out the VIG, and tells you fair value. So for example, when you put in BetOnline's market, minus 150 plus 120, all this does is find the midpoint, minus 132 plus 132. That's a fair market. That's a market with no VIG, no juice, right? Like you can get the over 132 to win 100 or the under 100 to win 132. That's a fair market. Right? Someone wants to bet the over, 132 to win 100. Someone wants to bet the under, 100 to win 132. That is a fair market with no juice. But obviously, sportsbooks want to make money. So how they work is they have models that say, hey, here's what we think the odds should be, minus 132 on the over, plus 132 on the under. And then they add the spread. They juice their markets. So basically, we're going in the opposite direction of a sports book. The way BetOnline works is they're taking all these bets from all these different bettors, right? They have these complex models. This is one of the sharpest, most sophisticated sports books. They're taking all these bets and they're saying, hey, the over and the under, the fair market, the market with no VIG, no juice, is minus 132 on the over. The over's that price, that's the fair price for the over. The under's fairly priced at plus 132. That's a fair market, no VIG, no juice. Then they juice their markets. So for us as a sharp bettor, we're going the opposite way, right? We're taking the sportsbook's market. In this case, BetOnline, they have the over at minus 150, the under at plus 120. We're removing the juice. The fair price on the over is minus 132. And we're getting better odds on rebet, right? Minus 123. So that's why this bet is profitable, or plus EV. We're getting odds that are better than fair value. So according to BetOnline, that's just one data point, one sports book, but the over would be fair at minus 132. That's the fair price for the over. We're getting minus 123 on rebet. So this bet is profitable. This bet is plus EV. Long story short, so I make sure every pick I give out has value. I was also, again, you want to use more sports books because you never know which book is going to have value. So on FanDuel, I was on Jalen Hurts over 1.5 passing touchdowns. Another really amazing value play from OddsJam, the positive EV tool. FanDuel had this at plus 180. I would not have wanted to place this bet on rebet. My last bet was on rebet. My last positive EV bet with value, bet with an edge. Rebet had this line on Jalen Hurts at plus 121. Obviously, I'd much rather get plus 180 on FanDuel as opposed to plus 121 on rebet. Like, that's a massive difference. Betting 100 to win $121 as opposed to 100 to win $180. So it's really important as a sports bettor to use multiple books. You never know which book is going to have value on a given day. So you want to use as many sports books as possible. The last thing I wanted to mention is, I bet on every sport. So on Sunday, there were a ton of NBA games. I also had some NBA bets. I post plays in the SEVA Discord. SEVA stands for Sharp EV Arbitrage. SEVA, Sharp EV Arbitrage. I post plays in the free play section all the time. So I posted some NBA plays in there earlier in the day, and those went pretty well as well, which brought my total in profit to 37.5K. So again, most of my profit came from the Eagles, right? Just being on the Eagles. And obviously today was an anomaly. Basically everything went my way. Player props went my way on Prize Picks. Eagles, team total, and money line, even after the first half were guaranteed wins basically. For the team total, it literally was a guaranteed win. For the money line, I mean, they were like, probably 98% to win the game at halftime, up 24-0 or whatever they were. And I also had some NBA bets that went well. But, my goal with these videos is always to kind of break down my betting process and provide some tips along the way of where I'm finding edges, where I'm finding success. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always happy to help. And thanks so much, for your time. I hope you enjoyed this video.